I started lying about the number of Tinder matches I had when he asked me, and kept giving him a smaller number. Ask Reddit on Reddit Rundown. When did you realize that you were attractive? When I was 29, I lost a crapload of weight. I spent most of my 20s weighing around 300 pounds and I made it to 180 or so just before my 30th birthday. Also did lots of running and strength training for a year or so and was pretty fit. I first realized I was attractive when I wore a newly tailored suit to an event and the cute girl at the front desk legitimately did a double take when I walked up to her to ask where I should go. She smiled, touched her hair, eyed me up and down a little bit and said that I looked really handsome. This was the first time that I felt someone legitimately into me for my looks. It was really weird and really awesome at the same time. It's so damn fun being an attractive guy. So fun in fact that I've kept the weight off for over 3 years now. At about the age of 17, I started getting hit on by girls in clubs in a way that none of my other friends never did. Girls would just walk up and sit next to me. I had girls just come up and kiss me out of the blue while we were dancing. I wouldn't say I'm particularly attractive, I'm just very tall, and am skinny but was also very fit at the time. I was cycling competitively, and I liked dancing, and that seemed to push some girls' buttons. To make it worse for my friends, I have some mental health issues that make me very uncomfortable with that kind of thing, so I repeatedly knocked them back. Back when I was 21-ish, this very attractive girl, a bit older than me, came up to me in a bar and started flirting with me. I pretended I had a girlfriend to try and get her to go away. By the end of the night, she was openly begging to sleep with me, loud enough for the entire table to hear, and I was politely declining. My friends were pulling their hair out. I know that sounds like I'm bragging, but trust me, it's really not as fun as it might sound. Being attractive, but your personality being the thing that keeps you alone is a pretty hard thing to reconcile. Doesn't happen anymore anyway. I guess I grew out of whatever mojo I had. When the girl at school who talked about my ass behind my back, but loud enough for me to hear, pulled me into her room on senior trip to throw down like a dirty clown. Was a good trip. Was reaffirmed when an ex flew from Houston to Orlando, called me up to pick her up from the airport, spent the night with me, then had me drop her back off at the airport so she could fly back to Houston. Was a 1,000-mile booty call. I still think this might have been an alibi. She was into government and after college went to work for the US Embassy in Sweden. I still don't see myself as attractive, but I accept that others see me that way, and I'm trying to learn how to overcome my personal view of myself. I was raised by a mother that would insult my looks or weight. I found friends that did the same. I saw it as normal treatment, so I didn't realize I was hanging out with trash. Q entering the adult world where I don't hang out with the trash much, and I don't live with my parents. I start meeting women a lot more often who compliment me and seem to want to touch me, and they aren't messing with me. My friends got it into my head that the girls flirting with me in school were pranking me, so I always blew them off. It wasn't until I was grown that I realized my friends always seemed to be right there to talk to girls I had just told to leave me alone. As an adult on my own, I started dating a lot. I never once accepted myself as handsome, but I accepted they saw me that way. I actually became basically a bad guy myself. I regret a good portion of my 20s. I'd lie, and string women along. I would date multiple women secretly for as long as I could. I was a cheating, manipulative piece of crap and I broke a lot of hearts quite on purpose. I can't even remember what most of the women looked like, let alone their names. Looking back, it was a very empty part of my life. I hated myself and I took it out on innocent people. Then I fell for someone hard. She did the same to me that I had done to so many others. As much as I still hate her, I also credit her actions as my turning point. I saw my reflection and I was horrified. From then on, I learned to be respectful, fair, and honest to anyone I dated. Still had a lot of broken-ass relationships, but for once, it wasn't solely my fault, and I continued to learn. Then I became quite visibly disabled with the loss of my legs. I still had no problems having an active dating life. I now know I must truly look good, and my personal view is from repeated abuse in my youth still lingering. I'm working on that. when a few of my female friends told me I used to have such a crush on you in high school. In fact, a lot of girls did. I never knew about it, so I never made any passes at them and went through high school thinking I looked like a potato. So, for the purpose of clarity, I'm going to have to do away with any kind of humility. So, I realized I was kind of attractive when people that I thought were attractive seemed romantically interested in me. I wasn't a good-looking or cool kid, but when I hit 16, I started getting way more attention from girls that I thought were hot. When I hit 19, I knew I had become really attractive because, and this is something that I was only able to recognize because I'd seen it happen with a buddy of mine who had always been a good-looking guy. People would talk about it, my good looks, as if it were fact or a foregone conclusion. I think that's when you know someone's really good looking. When you go out to the club and other guys assume that the hottest girls are interested in you, or girls assume you've got a long list of other girls lining up for a date, or people say things like you should be a model. Another big one from when I was younger, early 20s, was older women and gay men will just straight up say it. I think it's because they know you're probably not interested in them, so the sting of rejection is taken off the table so they can be very open, but yeah, they'll just blurt it out like it ain't a thing. Only over the last year or so? When multiple people started telling me you could do better when showing pictures of exes that I deemed to be attractive. When reasonably attractive girls asked me out. When my mates started telling me that I'm a good-looking dude. I didn't have my first kiss till I was nearly 21. I was a late bloomer and definitely not attractive in school. I still don't entirely believe it, to be honest. But enough people are telling me it that I'm starting to. So, hey ho. In high school, my friends and I stumbled across a rally for 9/11 truthers and started to argue with them. At one point, one of the truthers got fed up and told us to go away and get a life. He turned to me and said, "You're a good-looking guy. Why don't you go get a girlfriend?" It's rare to get that kind of compliment from someone who's pissed at you. When I was a teenager, girls would giggle around me. I thought they were making fun. But one day I was hanging out with a friend and it happened. I wanted to leave, he asked why, then thought I was joking. Brief confusion, sudden realization, total upheaval of my entire paradigm. Edit for clarity, I wanted to leave because I thought they were making fun of me. He thought I was joking when I said, "Those girls over there are making fun of me," because if I had actually made eye contact, I would see that they weren't looking at me with disdain but with interest. I have a really vague perception of how I look. I honestly don't know. But I thought I was ugly right up until I reached my early 20s, because boys wouldn't approach me. I think it's because I look a lot younger than I actually am, so when I reached 21, I finally looked legal. I was approached by easily the most handsome man I've ever met, and we dated for 2 years. That was a massive confidence booster for me. So, although I still don't know how attractive I actually am, that was the first time I realized I wasn't ugly. As a more serious answer to the question, getting my first girlfriend helped a lot. I had no idea before that what about me would have been even remotely interesting to other people, but she was incredibly sweet and affirming and knew exactly what to say to make me feel better about myself. Because of her, I started seeing how much progress I'd made socially, how much some of the things I'd been trying to do to get myself in better shape physically were actually paying dividends. Stuff like that. Now that that relationship has ended, I find myself doubting some of those things again from time to time, but I also realize that that could also just be me being self-defeating. A really cute girl in my psych class put her hand on my shoulder in a conversation once, gave it a squeeze and then glanced at my shoulder. She made this little, ooh sound, her eyes kind of glazed, and she started just kind of holding her hand there, lightly squeezing. I was pretty uncomfortable about it at this point and asked if she was okay. She just sort of smiled and said, "Yeah, much better thanks," pats my shoulder and turns away. I asked another girl what that was about and she just said, "Really? Girls like hot guys." I broke up with my girlfriend of 5 years and within days I had female friends flirting with me or asking me on dates. I got a lot more matches on Tinder than my brother. We were having a competition to get matches. It got to the point that I started lying about it when he asked me and giving him a smaller number. All of my relationships and romantic flings were initiated by the girl. I get a lot of very graphic compliments from my male friends about what they would do to me if we were both gay. Overall, I think part of why I've been successful with women is that I'm not too conventionally attractive. I am tall and in shape, but my face isn't angular, I don't have piercing blue eyes, and I'm not intimidatingly muscle-bound. I kind of have a Jim Halpert look to me, I suppose. Thanks for listening to Reddit Rundown. Give a thumbs up and subscribe, and help me get to 1,000 subs. Leave a comment below on what kind of topics or stories you would like to hear. You can also check out other videos on my channel. Thanks and have an awesome day.